Who's the biggest person you interviewed and met? I'm sure you met a few people with it over the years.
The biggest. I'm going to bring up a name that is going to ignite the grit. Taylor Swift.
Oh, Taylor Swift.
Now, she's not my favorite, but if one of the biggest, I mean, based upon what we're seeing today, she would qualify for that.
Jim, thanks for coming today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for asking.
I'm super excited to have you here today.
I'm super excited for your whole little deal here, the small town grit.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, because it's all a grind. At least in my world, it's always been a grind, and all different aspects from small business to family life to community involvement to youth programs.
Well, you're the guy that lit up downtown, aren't you?
I kind of started lighting up downtown. Yeah,
I love it. How many more buildings you got to light up?
It seems like it never stops.
Okay.
Yeah, I think because I did 2 buildings the first year, and then Mark Cooper did a couple on the corner, and I think we did another 4 buildings this year.
Yeah. But no, it is. You're right. It is a grind, and my days of grinding it are over. Thankfully.
Yeah, congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you. But, there's other things to grind out as you go through life.
Yeah.
So let's start grinding.
It all started with a hearing aid, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
2 knee replacements and a hearing aid.
2 new knees, a hearing aid, and false teeth or next, I guess. I don't know.
There's no stops. So 35 years with WKCQ.
Yeah.
First of all, I've always been fascinated. How do these radio stations get these letters to associate? Is there some?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Everybody, the owners, the people that own the radio stations come up with it. Now, KCQ was Carolyn and Ken, okay, because that was mom and dad.
Okay.
That started the radio station. And, so that's where KC came from. The Q, I don't know where the Q came from.
Yeah, I just curious. Everybody has their own little.
There's probably a story behind most of them.
Yeah,
but that's the story behind that.
Okay, I didn't know if it. I really didn't know. That's why curiosity had me today.
Okay, so now TRX and Flint came from a cereal.
Yeah, so we can be JC 105.
Sure,
Jim and Corey.
Why not?
Or we got to get Dan in here too.
Yeah, I would highly not recommend. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's talk about it's small town grit, right?
Right.
And I first met Dan. Was one of the first people I met when we moved back to Vassar. We were in Vassar, Ursula and I, out on Orms Road for years. Moved to Saginaw for a bit, and then we came back. And when we came back, one of the first people I met in town was Dan, playing golf at a golf outing, and we became fast friends. So it's really kind of neat. Mm-hmm. And when you think about friends, it's really that word. He's the definition of a friend. Let me tell you a story. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. I'd gotten home from work in the afternoon. One of our daughters, Tammy, was driving back from Arizona. Everything she owned in a U-Haul and a puppy. And there was a snowstorm chasing her. And my wife says, "You got to go get our daughter." I said, "I need some sleep. And I need a partner, because neither one of us really wanted to drive that, with that snowstorm, wanted to drive that trailer behind it." But anyway, I knew Dan was headed to Memphis for a competitive cheer meet, because Dan is Vassar's best friend, especially the kids. We all know that. Well, at any rate, I knew he was going there. I sent him a quick text. I said, "Hey, what time will you get back?" And he told me, I says, "Well, you want to go for a drive?" I didn't tell him where we were going, but do you want to go for a drive? He goes, "What are you talking about?" I told him. I said, "Tammy's stuck, not stuck yet, but she's driving home, and she's being chased by a snowstorm. And if she stops, she's going to be in the middle of it." He says, "Some things are just more important." He was at my house 5 minutes later.
That's amazing.
And we were off to, I think, we met her somewhere in Indiana. Illinois. I don't know where we were. Almost to Missouri. Almost to St. Louis. And, some things are more important. And that's grit, right? That's small town grit.
Yeah, that is.
Somebody like that. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, you really see that more in small communities, and
You do.
I can't imagine living like in the big city and not even knowing your neighbors. And
Well, I grew up in Flint and then lived there most of my adult life until I went to Lansing, and then came back from Lansing and wound up in Clio, which is a small town, and then I wound up in Vassar, which is a smaller town, I think.
yeah,
But all that growing up in Flint and living in Flint and living in Lansing, you can't go anywhere where everybody knows your name. You can in a small town like Vassar. Was that a TV show? A place where everybody cheers. There
Yeah,
you
I
go.
was like, that's cheers.
Cheers. So, and that's not that, everybody knowing my name or your name or anybody's name is that important.
Yeah.
But you go to the grocery store, you go to ShopRite, and you bounce into people that call you by your name.
Yeah. No, the other day, my wife went to the grocery store. I'm like, she was gone an hour. I'm like, we just had to get a loaf of bread and milk. She's like, well, I ran into Jan and Jim. And
Well, James, you get in conversation with him, the guy that owns that joint. You're tied up for 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's
Did
all
he
right,
show
though.
you his new bathrooms? The dude, I was in there one day. It was a Sunday, and I said, "How you doing?" "Oh, Jim, I just, you know how he is. He'd tell me about his sound system and that he had put in and all the great songs he plays. He goes, "You got any time?" I said, "Yeah, I got a couple minutes. Here, I want to show you something I'm really proud of." Next thing I know, I'm standing in the women's room. He's showing me his new bathrooms. So, ladies, if you haven't checked it out, make sure you go.
I'm sure that's their priority when they go to the grocery store.
That's just the way it is, though. That's Jim, and his son and everybody at ShopRite. Somebody asked me, and I'm spilling the beans here, and, Jim knows about it because we've talked about it. I want to go to work there as a cashier.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Because they have fun. Hey, I was in radio for 50 years, and I never worked a day in my life. I figure if I go to ShopRite and I'm a cashier, I'll never work a day in my life because those people have so much fun.
Yeah. No, they do.
They do. It's a blast. I got a nickname for all of them. Hurricane. You know who Hurricane is? Katrina. Have you ever run into Katrina at the ShopRite?
I don't know if I have or not.
Oh, she's the redhead, and you can hear her laugh back in the deli. Trust me.
I'm scared to ask what the rest of the names are.
I'm not going to divulge. Should hear what I call you.
Oh, man.
I got a few.
I'm sure you do.
So, Jim, I only know you probably in the last 15 years. That's probably stretching it a little bit.
I think it is. I think you've known me about 10 years.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd made 15 just
A
to
decade.
make it sound good.
Okay.
So you were more of a grandpa role and actually involved in our youth baseball program
I was.
and coached the Tigers, I think it was at the time.
Yeah, that was probably probably the three best summers of my life.
Yeah.
I run into kids. Last night, I'm at the basketball game at Delta College, and I ran into German Serta. And I had German in Little League, and he always says to me when he sees me, calls me Coach. He says, "Coach, you taught me some great life lessons."
Yeah, isn't it amazing?
Little League.
Yeah.
But, baseball is the only game where you can fail 70% of the time and still be a star.
Yeah.
And it's that 70% of the time that you fail where the kids actually learn what it's about to fail.
Yeah.
And as an adult, when you fail, usually there's some consequences.
Yeah.
that come with
Usually
it.
financial.
Yeah, but when you're a kid, failure is, it's a learning process. And yeah, those Little League years, my grandsons, I coached both of my grandsons, Brady Kuchar and Zach Kleinsmith, had them in those years. It was just a lot of fun. And the kids, after the season was done, my daughter Cindy, Cindy, she brought the kids to the studio as a year-end type of thing, and we had so much fun with them.
Yeah.
So much fun. Those were 3 great summers.
I remember it was just good time for the program at that time. It was good involvement. It was before COVID.
Yep.
We had an ample amount of kids, had a record number of kids in our community at the time. So it was really.
Yeah, it's like pulling teeth now for some reason to get kids.
Yeah, a little bit.
I wonder how much of this has to do with that. I think probably a good deal.
I think it's somewhat parent related. It's, it's dedication to the parents now, I think, and they got away from that. And I think they just changed roles a little bit. I think a little bit more family life now, and maybe
Right.
not. Because back in the day, even like when you were growing up, like I remember guys just living at the ball field.
Oh yeah,
You know, whether it's fast pitch softball or
we'd ride our
baseball.
bikes up there, right?
Right.
Yeah. No matter how we had to get there, we got to the ball diamond somehow.
Yeah.
You know.
But I want to talk about it the other time. We talked about the other night when I remember going to, because my kids were about the same age as your grandkids, and I remember going up to the youth football game, and I heard your name or the PA at the football game.
Right.
I'm like, Jim Kramer, he's like our local celebrity here, and he's announcing the football game for these youth kids, and I just thought, it can't get any better than this.
That was 3 great falls.
Okay.
You know, I had 3 great summers in Vassar and 3
Yeah.
great falls. And I don't know who recruited me to do that. I'm pretty sure it was Cindy. She recruits me to do a lot of stuff. But she, too, during that time was very involved in the community as well. And I said, okay. I said, but if we're going to do this, we're going to make it sound really good. Because I'm all about the sound.
Yeah.
You know, theater of the mind type of thing. And I've been to youth football games, and I heard the guy, announcing the game, and he would introduce the visitors, and it was like, silly. It was like putty. And then he'd get his team, and he'd be all excited. So I said, I'm going to use what I got at my disposal at the radio station, and I'm just going to introduce the other guys like they're nobody special. And they are, but not that trip to Vassar, I'm sorry. And I then took to the studio and produced the entire open, music and everything, and all the introductions for our guys.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because I had a hard time saying things like Hobbenstricker, and so it was all perfect. And then I go right from that right into the national anthem. All that was recorded. We were at the high school basketball game, and I want to say it was at Marlette this year. And I always kind of look around for the PA guy, but I couldn't see him. He introduces the kids from Vassar, and then all of a sudden the lights go out. And I'm like, wow, we're at Joe Louis. We're at the Palace of Auburn Hills.
Yeah.
And then the spotlight comes out. And they introduce their kids with all this excitement. And I'm looking around, I'm going, you know what? He recorded that ahead of time. Everything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's, that was a lot of fun. I just had a great time doing that.
Well, I mean, you live right across the street from the football field.
I do.
So,
Now everybody knows where I live.
You always hear the.
There goes a hearing aid I took out. I don't want your dog to get it.
No dog for me. Yeah.
No dogs?
No.
All right,
We tried dogs.
Yeah.
We just,
Did you?
We were a busy family, and we never got a good dog. That's, I think, our problem.
That's well, I hate to say this, Corey, and don't get mad at me for saying this, but a dog's only as smart as its owner.
Oh, so.
But, dogs, we had when we were out on Orms Road, our oldest grandson, Josh Bassett, he and Grandma used to watch Lassie all the time, and he begged his grandma for a collie. Mm-hmm. I was on the air talking about it one day, and I got back in my office after the show was over, and a woman calls the station, and she asked for me, and she goes, hey, your grandson wants a collie? She goes, I have one, the last of the litter. She goes, and it looks just like Lassie. And if you want it, you can have it for what I got in shots. Mm-hmm. Called her, so I said, hey, let's do it. So we did. And, I mean, I knew a collie was going to be a lot to handle. We both did. And we knew that it was, only as smart as its owners. And we figured we're two pretty smart people. So we signed up for obedience class with the dog. In fact, Mary Beth Riedel, who had the one-stop party store just outside of town, she did the classes. She was really good. We learned a lot from her.
Yeah.
And when I say we, I'm talking me and the dog. And by the way, the dog's name was Timmy. Oh. Because we didn't know what to call it. He wanted to call it Lassie, and we say, you can't call it Lassie. Because Lassie's a girl dog, and this is a boy dog. So he was playing with it under the kitchen table, and he pops up. He goes, I got it. We're going to name him Timmy. Perfect. Name stuck. Yeah. That was a great dog.
Good.
Great owners, too.
Do you have a dog?
People that own that dog were really great owners. They were smart people.
Do you have a dog, Jim?
Do we have dog? We had one. We had put him down a couple of years back, broke our hearts. And we said we weren't going to get any more dogs.
Yeah.
You know.
I hear that a lot. You get to a certain age, you're like,
We have grand dogs.
Yeah, that's
One lives 2 doors down.
Yeah.
He's outside and he hears us. He's in our front yard.
You're retired. Mm-hmm. What's retirement like? Is there agenda?
There's no agenda.
Is there routine? Routines is all that just?
Yeah, I think no. If you're a routine person, and I think when you do what I did for a living, and you have to be up at an ungodly
Yeah, you got
time.
up early, like 4 o'clock or 5.
Yeah, 3, depending what was going on. But you become a routine person, and I think you never get away from that, because as of now, I mean, my routine now is I go to bed when I want to, and I wake up when I want to.
Yeah,
and it's usually about 7:30. Not go to bed, wake up time.
Yeah,
and we sit, we have our coffee. We go through Facebook and laugh at people.
Are you gonna laugh at yourself?
Or you laugh at yourself. Well, you got to laugh at yourself, and and then go about do your little chores you got, and the next thing you know, it's time to eat lunch. Like today, it was time to eat lunch. Time to go see Corey.
Yeah,
and I'll go home and do what I got to do. I got to go to the grocery store from here, and then go home, take a little nap in the chair. Basketball tonight.
Yeah,
that's my routine.
So the Lions, you got a Lions shirt on, so I assume you're a Lions fan, win or lose.
No.
You
can ask you can ask certain people. We started talking about Carson Atkins, Dan Atkins, and I was not on the bandwagon. I did not believe in them at all. And when they traded Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff, I thought that was really the dumbest move they ever made. But they got all those draft picks.
Yeah, they're young.
And all those draft picks were a huge part of the season they had this year. And, so I wasn't on the bandwagon. I feared that if I ever decided I wanted on the bandwagon, they wouldn't let me on. And Dan gave me one chance. He goes, "You got until kickoff this Sunday to jump on the bandwagon." And I did. And I sat there and I watched that game this past Sunday. And I always said, if you're a Lions fan, they'll find a way to break your heart. But blowing a 17-point lead, that's a pretty vicious way to break somebody's heart.
I never grew up a Lions fan either. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe you might be a Lions fan. I grew up a 49ers fan, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm done.
I just loved.
I'm out of here.
I just loved Joe Montana and Jerry Rice on the West Coast offense. Yeah. It was just fascinating because around here, especially, it was just run the veer, the tee. It was just pound the ball, run the ball. I was like, oh, I like that shotgun and rolling out of the pocket. I never seen anything like that before when I was young, and I got fascinated about it.
That's one of the reasons why I'm not a big Michigan football fan, because when I was young, it was 4 yards in a cloud of dust. Literally it was, because they played on natural turf, and all that running, it was just a cloud of dust after 4 yards. I enjoyed, like you, the more wide open game.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Lions brought to us this year, was more of a wide open game.
Yeah, a little bit.
I
think we got a tight end this year. And I actually rooted for the Lions this year, because I was like, even against the 49ers, I was just like, it's their small window of success. And I wanted that, especially for the state of Michigan and Lions fans, like they were long overdue.
Well, one of the things, you've heard a lot of phrases, if you will, have come out of, Dan Campbell. We're both sitting here with kneecaps today because we don't play against the Detroit Lions. But one thing he did do, and that was change the culture.
Yes, he did.
And, we got grit. But the culture change was the most important thing, because you can have all the catchphrases you want to have unless you have a great culture. And it's not just sports. It's, it's your business. Mm-hmm. It was the radio business. It's the culture that he has built that has made me believe that, okay, they're going to be good again next year. I really believe they're going to be good again next year. So culture is important. I've seen them built and I've seen them destroyed.
Yeah.
And when they get destroyed, you got a problem.
I think that happened in Michigan. I think Jim Harbaugh built the culture, and now I feel not like it got destroyed, but the culture is going to change.
Did he finally go to the NFL?
Yeah. He went to the Chargers.
I know. He's been going. I've had so much fun. Again, not a big Michigan football fan. But they're from the state of Michigan, and I'll root for them when they're not playing my team. What's your team? College team. Go ahead.
Michigan.
Oh,
No,
it's
it's Michigan.
No.
Yeah, I'm a Florida State fan too. 'Cause
Yeah.
at the time,
Oh yeah,
that was pretty popular.
there were some great rivalries. You know, I won't mention what Michigan State did to Michigan in basketball last night, but anyway, you know, when you see those things, those clubs and that culture, I always knew that Harbaugh had an agenda. And when he came to Michigan, his agenda was to win a national title, and he did it. The other part of his agenda was going back to the NFL and winning a Super Bowl.
Okay.
And that's exactly what he's
Yeah,
done.
I think you're the first one I've talked to that actually feel like he had an agenda. Like, you know,
Everybody's got an agenda.
yeah.
You got one, I got one. Everybody's got an agenda.
So I don't know have you followed Michigan or in Harbaugh the whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think if Michigan offered him more money, he would have stayed? You think it was a money thing?
Nope.
Not at all.
Nope. He wants a Lombardi trophy.
Okay. Which he has the opportunity to do now.
He does. Yeah. I mean, he's got the situation in L.A., as I understand it, much like Dan Campbell had, you know, with Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Young quarterback, you know, some draft picks to play with. And, you know, he's going to get them to understand that who's got it better than us? Nobody, right? Nobody. And you know, he's just got to be careful, you know, because he's got the NCAA on him in college football. Mm-hmm. You don't want the NFL on your tail. No.
Let's talk about that hat. Where'd you get that hat from?
This is my Michigan hat.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's Brady played travel baseball, and one of the teams he played for, this was one of their caps.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Mid-Michigan. I can't remember the name of the team now, the nickname of the team, but it was Mid-Michigan something. And they had like 4 or 5 hats. And, you know, when we played Little League, we had one hat, and it was dusty. Mm-hmm. And, you know, these guys, they got like 5 hats that they're wearing. But this one always stuck out to me because, you know, it's a map of the state of Michigan. And I said, that is cool. I said, don't turn your head because I'm going to steal it. He got me one for Christmas.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Nice.
so
That's
this is
awesome.
my Michigan.
Yeah,
Michigan,
awesome.
Michigan State, Eastern, Western, Central. You know,
Can't go wrong.
No, you can't. You can't.
Yeah, I saw the Spartans put it to Michigan last night.
Yeah.
And 700 wins?
Yeah, for Tom Izzo.
Yeah.
Now, you know, you talk about, you know, coaches, and this has nothing to do with small town grit, but, you know, I'm a huge Tom Izzo fan.
Well, he's a small town grit. He's from the UP.
Yeah,
isn't
he is from the UP. He's from the UP, and it doesn't get much more
smaller
than
you're
the UP. But one of the things that, you know, I did play sports. I didn't play a lot in high school. But, you know, I played basketball, football, baseball. I played more baseball than I did anything else. But the one thing in basketball, more than anything, is the fundamentals.
Yes.
You know, and I watch teams, be it high school or college or even pros, that when the players go to the line, they can't make free throws. Tom Izzo's teams can make free throws. Mm-hmm. He sees to it. And I once heard he shoots 100 free throws at the end of every practice and makes at least 70 of them.
My high school coach played for Michigan State under Judd. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how true the story is, and I never researched it, but he said that it was a close game, and he ended up missing a free throw at the end of the game there, and he said he never played again. Like that was that you were expected to make your free throws.
Yeah. The fundamental thing. I mean, here's a story. My very last football game I ever played was 8th grade. I went to a small Catholic school in Burton, and we were playing in the league championship under the lights against Holy Redeemer. At Holy Redeemer. No, excuse me, we were playing St. Mary's. Again, small Catholic schools. Playing St. Mary's at Holy Redeemer Field under the lights. This is the field my older brother was an all-state quarterback at Holy Redeemer and went to University of Dayton, played football. And, you know, I was a little brother. I knew I was going to be in radio, and I knew I was going to show him up. And I did. You know. But at any rate, I played offensive line, and they called a play and was coming through my hole. I got my guy out of the way, and I'm just standing there waiting for the running back to come through. And as he does, he coughs up the ball. It's sitting in the end zone. Just sitting in the end zone. And I'm looking at it. All I had to do was fall on it. Mm-hmm. I didn't. Last football game I ever played. Just like that, right? Yeah. Last football game I ever played.
But I think us as coaches, those are our times to shine and give those opportunities to those kids and be like, hey, there's more. it's not done.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
There's more chances.
Exactly. You know, I mean, I remember, talking to the kids in the dugout, after a loss or what have you, and, maybe somebody will strike out to end the game, And I said, what do I always tell you guys? Baseball's a game of failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose no matter what.
Right. And I said, let me ask you, who's the best hitter of all time? And somebody hollers out, Babe Ruth. Oh, could have been right. There's been a bunch of them, and he was really good. I said, how many times did he strike out in his career? And they didn't know the answer. Well, neither did I. Mm-hmm. I said, look it up. I said, you'll be surprised.
Right. It's more strikeouts than home runs. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no question about it.
How'd you get into radio? Was it something you...
Something I always wanted to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to. When I was a kid growing up, I wanted to be a priest or a golfer. And you laugh, but the priest thing, I like girls, so that wasn't going to happen. And in golf, I couldn't hit a ball straight. So,
isn't that amazing? Let's just talk about that. No matter what I do, I could turn sideways to make up for that, and I still can't hit it.
The ball's just sitting there, Corey.
Right.
It's just sitting there. It's not like a baseball is being thrown to. It's just sitting there. And, it's everything has to be perfect in that swing in order to get that ball to go relatively straight.
Do you still play golf? You still play golf?
I haven't played in 3 years, but I had bad knees. But I got good knees now, and I'm going to play this summer, and I'll get you out there.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
but
we'll do that.
It is very, very
you
difficult.
and Dan, you guys have a yearly
Dan,
putt golf.
Don't get me started on Dan and putt golf. Okay,
Is there a traveling trophy?
There is.
Yeah,
there is. He's in possession of it right now.
Oh, that's why I don't want to talk about it.
No. The reason I don't want to talk about it is because it's endless. He won't stop until I go play putt with him.
Okay.
And I can't get him to go play real golf because he sold his clubs because for some reason he was just done with the game. Oh. All right. So we play putt at least once a year.
Yeah.
He has the trophy.
Okay.
He has the trophy.
Yeah.
And I can't hit a putt straight either. So, but those were the things that I kind of thought I wanted to do. And when I was early teens, maybe late single digits, growing up in Flint in a little suburb community, neighborhood type thing. And they were building a new house down on the corner, and we used to always go play on those piles of dirt, throw rocks into the water in the basement of the house, right?
Right.
And somebody said, you know who's going to live here, don't you? And I said, nope, I have no clue. And he said, Bob Dell. And now that name to probably 99% of the people that hear it means nothing. But at the time, he was the morning guy on TAC in Flint. And I'm like, really? Bob's moving in here? Dude, I would sit on his front porch waiting for him to come home from work. I made sure I was that family's favorite kid in the neighborhood. They let me babysit their dog when they were gone. They had a basset hound. His name was Sloopy. What a slobbering dog that was. Yeah. But I just made sure that, I was their best friend. And Bob used to promote shows at the old IMA Auditorium in Flint. And he wanted Victor, one of his sons, to be involved in the show and imitate the Beatles. So Bob's wife, Joni, says, why don't you come down and teach Victor how to be a Beatle? And I'm like, I don't know how about being a Beatle. Right. Yeah. Do I look like Paul McCartney to you? And so I did. I just went down. We had a little bit of fun with it and what have you. And they took me to the show, and it was really cool. And I just really, really, really liked Bob. And I liked the idea of talking for a living. And I loved music. And I figured, well, I'll be a DJ, So just through that and through high school, I went to Powers in Flint, and we started a radio station. It just went over, the PA.
Right.
We had the board. We had a kid that was a whiz with electronics, and he put together a board, and we brought in 2 record players, and it was, in a little office off the library.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
And
little studio,
a little studio, and it would go through the school building over the PA system. So I decided at that point that really that's kind of what I wanted to do, because I wasn't going very far in algebra or anything else for that matter. But history, I loved history, and I had a great history teacher. His name was Bill Tucker. And Bill, still friends with him to this day. And he would, the day before a test, he would go through everything on the test. We would play Jeopardy in class. And then on the test day, question 13, because he was superstitious, would always be, doesn't matter, 13, no matter what the class was he was teaching. He was also a French teacher. It could have been a French test. Question 13 was ask me anything you want. And he went to Notre Dame, and I heard that he was on radio while he was in college. And I said, that's what I want to do. Can you be of any help? So after the test, I can't remember how I did on it. I probably was adequate. And he says, Kramer, come here. He says, yeah, you're right. I did. I was in Notre Dame. I was on a radio station, right there in South Bend on the weekends. He goes, now I know this guy, and I'll put you in touch with him and see if you can be of any help. Well, the guy was Bill Gibson, who at the time was the program director at CK105. He had been on TAC and went over to CK105. And they had a small AM station. When I say small, I'm talking about power-wise, and it was a daytime station. And a daytime station would sign on when the sun came up and sign off when the sun went down. So he says, I'll give Bill a call. He gave me his number. I gave Bill a call. And they gave me a job delivering the music surveys. The papers that you used to get at the record store that had the top 30 songs on it. So I'd go to record stores all over the city of Flint, putting them in the store. And then I told them I wanted to be on the air. So this is a long story, I'm sorry. But at one point, they knew I wanted to be on the air, but they didn't have anything for me. So they said, well, we got hit with a snowstorm. And it was one of those, this stuff we get anymore is really not snowstorms compared to what they were in the 70s.
Right.
Hear about the one of 76. That was a huge one. But this was like in 1971, 72. And I lived like within walking distance to the radio station. The station was on Lapeer Road in Flint, and I lived not far from there. And he says, they gave me a call. Do you think you can get to the station? I got there, and I was told, go in, just play songs, play commercials, don't talk.
How old were you?
I was a sophomore in high school.
Okay.
Don't talk. And I'm like, man, the phone's ringing off the hooks. It was a weekday. Schools are closing left and right. And people are calling, they want to know this stuff. And I'm like, the hell with it. I know where the mic's at. I threw the switch and I started closing schools. And then the weather's important, so I started giving the weather. Next thing I know, the hotline rings, and it was Bill Gibson. And he goes, Kramer? I said, yeah, Bill? He says, I thought I told you not to talk. I said, you did, Bill. I said, but look, this is an emergency situation, so to speak, and people need to know this information. And I just took it upon myself. I said, I'm sorry, I'll shut up. He goes, no, you sound great. I went, oh, okay. So next thing I know, the next week, I got shifts.
Wow.
And I was, my senior year of high school, I could get a call at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was Bill. He was doing afternoon drive on CK105. He goes, I don't feel like working. You want to come in and do the afternoon show? Heck yeah. So I leave school, and my buddies are getting out of school listening to CK105 because at the time that was the big station. And there I was, And then shortly after that, I got an opportunity to go full-time on the country station. And I didn't hesitate. I took it. $90 a week. I was rolling.
Yeah, you're living, man.
I was rolling in it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it started. Childhood dream and a good high school teacher.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I know Luke Turner's been.
Sure.
He's done some, what do you call it, mentoring? I guess you've done some mentoring for him.
Yeah, I tried to get him to come back to work for us, but he wouldn't do it. I don't know. Hey,
He's
dude.
over in Carroll right now.
Really?
Yeah. And then I just saw in the paper, I don't know if you get the paper or not. Do it. Retired guys get the paper.
Retired guys do a lot of things. But one thing I was never into was newspapers.
Yeah. He had a young high school student that came to the station and kind of doing a little mentorship as well. So, I'm sure you watched a lot of movies and baseball movies and like.
Sure.
Did you have to practice a lot? Is it like an auctioneer? Like,
oh yeah,
or
I used to, driving in my car, I would, intro records.
Yeah.
As they were playing. I used to play DJ. We had 2 record players downstairs, and would do that. You practiced building houses, didn't you?
Yeah.
See, of course.
So you're good at it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to do it, you got to make sure you're going to be good at it. So yeah, and the one thing I really, really, really wanted to do, and did have a couple of opportunities, was play-by-play stuff. One of my idols. And one of the greatest people that I've ever had the opportunity to interview was Ernie Harbaugh.
Oh, really?
And, it was like pulling teeth and jumping through hoops to get him on. But somebody wanted to know how the 7th inning stretch came about. And there's only one guy that can, really, because I've heard him tell the story, and the way he tells any story was just out of this world. So, long story short, I got the opportunity, and he called me. And, we had the conversation, and he said, Jim, he goes, if you ever want to talk about anything again, he says, here's my number. Don't go through the Tigers. Just give me a call, And he was just, I interviewed him 6 times, and none of them were the same.
Yeah.
Because he's just that good. And I did do some high school basketball stuff. One of the years at Buena Vista was during would have been the 90s or early 2000s that were really good and had plenty of.
Yeah, they were good.
They
were state champs in the.
They were. I don't know if they won it or not, but we did do a game. We did a game from Chrysler Arena, and we did games from the Palace. So they didn't make the finals.
Yeah.
But that's just a lot of fun.
Who was the biggest person you interviewed and met? I'm sure you met a few people with it over the years.
The biggest, I'm going to bring up a name that is going to ignite the grit. Taylor Swift.
Oh, Taylor Swift.
Now, she's not my favorite, but one of the biggest, based upon what we're seeing today, she would qualify for that. I'm not a fan of her at the football game. I turn on the football game. I want to watch football. I don't want to know Taylor Swift is in the house. You can show her to me one time, but that's it. But we interviewed Taylor when she was 13 years old and just starting. And, she was pretty impressive then at 13.
How did she make her break? Do you remember? Was she on American Idol or any of those shows?
No, I don't think American Idol was around back then. She's very talented and a young lady, and she got Nashville's attention with a song called Tim McGraw. And Tim will tell you he loves that song.
Yeah.
Even to this day. But that song, really sent her rocketing. And she spent 5-6 years in country music, and then she went pop. And, everybody thought she was a slouch because she didn't tour for 3 albums.
Yeah, but you probably didn't even know at 13 when she was 13 years old that she was going to be what she is.
She knew.
Yeah.
She knew. You could tell. She was, she knew she was going to be a star. Maybe not as big a star as she is, but she knew she was going to be a star. But at the same time, she was still a 13-year-old kid. Yeah. She was bubbly and kind of goofy.
I just read something the other day about just her mind state about she's just driven.
Yeah.
I don't even know, let's say the top 1% of the world, she is that driven. Whatever her agenda is, or she's going to accomplish.
Yeah. But by today's standards, she would probably be the biggest because, she increased her boyfriend's jersey sales by 400%. But, gosh, I'll tell you 2 more real quick. Garth Brooks. Yeah. Garth is an amazing individual. He a lot like Taylor Swift because, once he made it, he knew he was going to go to superstardom, and he certainly has. But we were in New York City. We had the opportunity to go to the CMA Awards for about 15 years and broadcast back to mid-Michigan. And we were in New York City in this little theater just off Broadway is where we were doing the shows from. And Garth was there. And he was 2 radio stations down from us, and I knew he was coming to us next. And Barb Shelter, who did the show with me, was there, and he walks up to us, and he looks her dead in the eye, and he goes, "Barb, how are you?" And he reaches out and gives her a hug. I was kind of dumbfounded by that because I knew she had met him before. When he did the Palace of Auburn Hills, he played like 5 straight nights or whatever it was. And I know she had taken a couple of busloads of listeners down for that, and she had met him a couple of times. And I'd never met him before. This is the first time I ever met him. And, I introduced myself and yada, yada. So we go around our table, and Barb's standing up, and Garth is on the other side of the table. And I said, "Barb, sit down." Because he's not going to sit until you sit, because that's just the way he is, So I went back and I was looking at some pictures, and I said to myself, I know how he knew her, because we had lanyards on with our names. Hers was flipped around. So he did remember her from the Palace of Auburn Hills.
Okay.
But Garth is probably, overall one of the biggest. And then there's Kevin Costner.
Oh, yeah, Kevin Costner.
I don't like Kevin Costner.
You don't?
Don't like Kevin Costner.
You don't like his movies? You just don't like Kevin?
I just don't like Kevin. He's in a great baseball movie.
Yeah.
But we were getting ready to go to Nashville, and they always, the first night of that event, which is, I believe, Sunday night, they always have a guest, a superstar guest. And she goes, Barb says, "You're never going to guess who the superstar guest is." I said, "Who?" Now, we've had Carrie Underwood, and all the big stars, Garth, blah, blah, blah. She goes, "Kevin Costner." So I didn't think anything of it. I went home and I told my wife, Ursula, I said, because she went with me that year, I said, the superstar interview that night is Kevin Costner. She got all excited. She loves Kevin Costner. So Kevin Costner is like bane to my existence, So every time his name would come up, it would be, Kevin Costner. But no, I mean, the Field of Dreams and what they've done with that, Major League Baseball and whatever, that was all Kevin Costner's doing, I think. But, it was just one of those deals where, and Urs got her picture taken with him and stuff like that. And this was before social media, but she would share this picture of her and Kevin Costner. And people were just drooling over the damn picture. Mm-hmm. She got a million pictures with me. Right. Nobody drools over those. But Kevin Costner, But no, those days were a lot of fun. We had the opportunity to meet all kinds of people. Keith Urban, we interviewed him. He had literally just gotten off the bus, just gotten out of rehab from alcohol abuse. And boy, what an interview that was, because he opened up.
Wow.
And you learn some things about people. And that's a great thing about the country music artists, because they're real people.
Yeah.
Real people.
I was say, we're just regular people.
Exactly.
Country radio, have you just fell yourself into it? Because country radio back then, and country radio was...
When I started in 1972, or 73, actually, I guess it was, that first job, when I got that job at the little country station, they changed my name. It's funny, because the morning guy was Arnie Anderson. The midday guy was Clark Campbell. Was Arnie Anderson. Buck Bradley was the midday guy. And Clark Campbell was the afternoon guy. Well, the afternoon guy had left, and the midday guy left. So they gave me the job, but they changed my name to Clark Campbell. Everybody on the radio station had the same name, whether it was the same person or not.
Yeah.
Depending on what time you filled it, what air shift you were on, that was your name. So I got Clark Campbell.
That's funny. It's got Luke kind of had the same similar story, because when he worked at Disney, it was what was the two guys' names?
Gatorland.
Yeah, Gatorland.
Yeah.
The same guys had the same name. It was didn't matter if they were the same guys or not. It was Bubba and Jumbo. You're Bubba.
Thank
today.
God I was Clark Campbell. I don't know if I could have been Bubba or Jumbo. Certainly not Jumbo.
Yeah. So yeah, those roles always stay the same. So it's kind of funny how it even happens in radio.
It does, and it was it was just crazy, but it was a lot of fun, and I mean. When I was a senior in high school, and I'm, spinning Grand Funk Railroad for my guys on the way home from school, and then my first full-time gig, I'm doing, So I'm trying to think of an old country artist now. George Jones, Tammy Wynette, all those guys, you know. Yeah. But it was a lot of fun, and it was a great stepping stone. And then that's where I start, and of course I end at KCQ.
You've been in Nashville a few times then, or?
I love that city.
You do?
I freaking love Nashville.
It's just
Are you
chaotic
kidding me?
and loud, and that's why you had hearing
It's becoming
aids.
that way. It really is. You know, I mean, it's becoming a little Las Vegas.
Yes, it is.
And, you know, the very first time I went was 1973. I just graduated from high school, and we used to take bus trips down. We take listeners down on buses. And, oh, my God, were those fun. You know, and I had never been there before. So my very first time was, you know, I'm 18 years old. I'm on a bus with a bunch of people 50 and 60. Mm-hmm. Seriously.
Yeah.
Quite an age difference,
yeah, a little
you know.
bit.
But I did that trip on buses, you know, so many times. And they were so much fun because you got to be with the people that, you know, are making your money, the listeners, mm-hmm. and having fun with them. And, you know, I remember one time Urs went on a couple of them with me, and we would just have a blast, you know. And it was one trip where this group was clingy. They wouldn't let us have any free time, mm-hmm. you know. And so we're at Opryland Theme Park, which no longer exists. But we were there, and, you know, it's us and 27 or 32 people. I can't remember what it was, but they wouldn't leave us alone. I cannot remember what she said to them, but she said something to them, and next thing I know, we had all kinds of time together.
I'm sure, yeah. I'm sure there was nothing filtered there.
No, nothing. Oh, you know my wife, don't you? Yeah. Nope, no filter. But those trips were good. Nashville was a lot of fun, and it has changed because that first trip, Lower Broadway, was seedy. I mean, there's, you know, Tootsie's Orchid Lounge, which is still there and still thriving, and some of these other little honky-tonks up and down there. But upstairs, there was a lot of nightlife going on.
I think I was scared to go down there at night. They shut the main road down at nighttime.
Yeah, now
they do. Yeah,
now they do. And I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Costner, there he is again.
Dang it.
He did a concert there one time, and 3 people showed up. Honest to God,
wow,
3 people. That year that he was the bane of my existence, he did a concert because he was trying to be a country artist.
Now you say that, I do recall it a little bit.
Yeah. I can't remember what the name of his band was, but they literally did a concert. And the next day, somebody goes, "Anybody go see Kevin's show?" One gal said, "I did." Yeah. Was it well? There was like 4 or 5 people there.
Yeah.
Weird.
Poor guy. You know.
So did the kids growing up or the grandkids play my grandpa's Jim Kramer, my dad's Jim Kramer?
No, not much.
No,
not much. They did it more as an adult, I think, than as a kid. I don't really think that there's no good story there, Corey. There should be.
No.
You would think there should be, right? But there's really here's one of my favorite name cards. Drop the name card. We were living out on Orms Road at the time, and I was going to work. I was driving. Urs had a Trans Am, and I was driving that to work. And I went through town, and I always generally would stop at Shell and get a coffee for the drive-in, or some Hostess donuts, those little chocolate guys. And I pulled into the Shell, and all of a sudden I look in my rearview mirror, and there's a cop, one of Vassar's finest. I don't think it was Jimmy Smith. You remember Jimmy Smith. I don't know who it was. I didn't know the officer. And I was running a little bit late, but I was not speeding. Mm-hmm. I was not speeding. He claimed I was. I jumped out of the car, and I said, "Do you know who I am?"
No.
He let me go. I used it myself.
Yeah.
Corey, I used it myself. I don't think the kids ever played that card.
No. Oh, that's funny. Was there competition between other radio stations?
Oh, God, yes. God, yes.
Johnny Burke was pretty popular.
Johnny and I have had many battles because I eventually went mornings at TAC in Flint, and he was doing mornings at TRX. And we never met one another. And we battled and battled and battled there. Well, from there I went to Lansing, and he went, I don't know if he went someplace between TRX and HNN or not. But when I came back and started working for McDonald Broadcasting and was on mornings on SAM and then went to mornings on KCQ. He was doing mornings at HNN.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, we just battled back and forth for number one. It was always one of us. One of us was number one of us was number two. And the pumpkin roll. Johnny come for pumpkin roll one year. And we went down to Riverside and had dinner. And that was the only time the two of us ever really met.
That's
and
interesting.
Really talked,
that is very interesting. Yeah.
And when Barb retired, I reached out to him to do a little vignette for her retirement. And he said to me, he said, "When are you going?" I said, "Give me 6 months." I said, "When are you going?" He's still working.
Is he?
Yeah, he's still working.
Okay.
He's out at the Fox in Flint. But there's always it's like KCQ and the Moose going back and forth for years and years and years. So there's a lot of competition, and it's friendly competition.
Yeah, I think about that too. Like, I mean, we all have to work together, right? In the same profession. Same with us builders. We're going to bid against each other, and we're going to work with each other. And I hope, I'm always open-minded about being like that. But some people are like, stick in the mud or like drawing that line. They're the enemy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But
exactly.
I'm glad you guys kept that. Maybe you weren't close, but you were open-minded about that relationship.
Absolutely. He came to me one time, he says, April Fool's Day. He says, "Hey, let's switch. I'll come over there, you come over here." I said, "Dude, I would do it in a heartbeat."
That'd be awesome.
But the owner wouldn't go for it.
Really?
Well, I didn't even ask. I knew better. I knew better.
So Johnny Burke had a fundraiser. He always did the lobster Frankenmuth.
Right,
I don't think they do that anymore, do they?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think he's on to doing other things.
You get involved in any big fundraisers?
We, as a matter of fact, that was one of the things that I prided myself on through my years at KCQ. And one of the biggest things we ever did happened here in Vassar. The Oklahoma City bombing. Everybody remembers that. You remember right where you were when it happened and how sickening it was to see that happen in our country. And that was unfortunately the beginning of a lot of things. But I said to myself, we got to see what we can do for those families. I heard that there was a fund set up at a bank in Oklahoma City. And I called the bank and I found out who the person was that started it. For the love of me, I can't remember her name. But I called her up, I told her who I was and what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was raise money. And I had to do it in a week. So we got on the phone to Nashville. And we're talking to everybody we can talk to down there to get items for an auction. Mm-hmm. And then we had to have a place to hold it. So I called the people at the Vassar Eagles. And I said, "Hey, here's what no problem. No charge for the hall, nothing." They even, I think they provided the music. I can't remember. But we had a night, we raised $42,000 in one night and in 1 week.
That's amazing.
It really was, And one of the amazing side story to that, I used to go back and forth between our station and Lansing's from time to time. And I'm driving home from Lansing that week, and cell phone rings. First cell phone ever had. It was a bag. Remember those? Remember the bag phones? And I picked it up. And I said, "Hello," and he goes, "Jim, this is Narvel Blackstock." Now, that name means nothing to anybody except people like me and people like Reba McEntire, because that's her husband and her manager. And we'd sent out letters. And he says, "Jim," he says, "I understand you guys are doing something." She's from Oklahoma, too. She goes, "I understand you guys are doing something for Oklahoma City. And, Reba and I would love to help you out with that." And he says, "We're going to send you a bunch of autographed stuff," which they did. And he says, "Hold on a second here. Somebody wants to talk to you." I'm northbound on 75. I know exactly where I was. I was between Miller Road and, Pearson Road. No, Miller Road and Coldwater Road. So it wasn't that far. Mm-hmm. "Hi, Jim, it's Reba." So I have a conversation with Reba McEntire, But those things, and then, I took the money to Oklahoma City. And I got on the airplane in Flint, and the stewardess came back and she goes, "We understand you're headed to Oklahoma City. with a donation? I said, yeah, I am. She goes, well, we'd like to upgrade you to first class. I never flew first class in my life, but I did that trip, you know. And it was just little things like that. But, you know, I did a thing for years, 26, 27 Christmases. You know, we did a fundraiser for families, you know, that need help at Christmas time. And we did as many as... One year, we only did 12 on the air, was the most we ever did, but one year we did 20 plus because we wound up doing some families off air. And the generosity of people just blew my mind.
Yeah. I never paid attention. My wife was telling me about, they still do it. Did they do it again this year?
And they did a version of it.
Yeah. And I was just like, I don't know, it brings tears to your eyes on some of the stories you hear. And it makes you really fortunate of what you do have. And
Exactly. You know, and we were fortunate over the years to really, really help some great people. And the people that we helped would pay it forward years ahead, which was really kind of neat too. Yeah. So that was fun. But, you know, we did Hurricane Katrina. I slept on top of a semi in front of Lowe's. And our goal was to fill one semi-trailer. We filled two.
That's amazing too. Yeah.
That were headed down that way. So
porta potty on top of the roof too.
I had to climb down and go inside Lowe's. I had to walk. I remember that night. I got a pretty good night's sleep in a sleeping bag on top of a semi-trailer.
Are you going to Florida bound at all? Is that in the cards?
No, you know, I had plenty of opportunities while I was working to do some pretty neat things. You know, like I said, the Nashville trips were sometimes twice a year. You know, so we got our fill of travel just to that particular city. But I had...
I'm talking retirement.
Yeah, I've had to live?
Yeah.
No.
You're Michigander for life?
No. I don't enjoy the four seasons. I'm a lot better now than I used to be with winter. You know? I mean, it was like yesterday, that snow we got yesterday. What did we get, 2 inches?
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, I'm going to go blow the snow. I got nothing else to do. You know? So it doesn't bother me to do that kind of stuff.
I'll come pick you up if you want to ride along.
You know, I'll tell you what, that's one thing I've always wanted to do. I did a Sunday morning post, Easy Like Sunday Morning, a lot long ago, that said some of the things I really wanted to do. I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane, which was fun. And, you know, I've always wanted to drive a snowplow. That's why I don't mind my Cub Cadet, you know. But no, I know what you're talking. I'm talking about 15 and 75 with the computer. So I know where the ditches are. you got me behind the wheel of your plow. We're going in a ditch. I was driving home from Delta College last night out there on Mackinac.
Yeah.
You ever see the size of those ditches? Or some of these ditches
I
out on Vassar?
I rode my truck on one of those ditches before.
Did you really?
Yep.
That's what happened.
Yeah. I woke up upside down with little S10 pickup. The bumper to bumper was ditch to ditch side, and water was flowing through my cab.
Oh my goodness!
It was
could not imagine.
Miracle that I landed that way. Cab didn't get crushed. I didn't drown.
Man,
just had to unbuckle myself and climb out.
Yeah, you see the size of some of those ditches, and it just amazes me that they even let them get that deep. But I guess there's a reason.
Yeah, especially some of these county ones. I mean, the shoulders are so small.
Yep.
You can't pull over the edge.
Yep.
It'd be bloop.
Oh, thank you. But Florida, I love going to Florida. I've gone to Florida and played golf in the spring and go to Tiger spring training. I've done that.
That's on my list this year.
Oh, do it.
Yeah?
Do it. You know, and I don't know if they do it anymore. Do you have a room yet?
No.
I believe it's in Lakeland. I'll have to think of the name of the apartment complex. But I went down one year, my son and I, and we got a 2-bedroom apartment that was completely stocked with everything, and it was for well under $100 a night.
That's amazing.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. And it was right across the street from a golf course and about 20 minutes from Tiger Town. Oh, yeah. I love baseball. I love the Tigers.
What are they going to do this year?
They're going to show up.
They'll be at every game, right?
They're gonna remember that baseball's a game of failure.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, I mean, it's interesting. You know, Miggy's gone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss him because he was just fun to watch. He was just fun to watch the way he played the game. Plus, he was really good at what he did. I mean, he could fall out of bed and get a base hit. It all depends on pitching, and I don't know, you know, what they got. I mean, we've got guys down there that can pitch. We know we've seen them, but that's the most important part of the game at that
Man,
level.
what they're getting paid to these pitchers is.
Well, how about this kid they just signed, Colt Keith? What a great name that is. He's in the minor leagues, and he just got a 6-year extension on his contract for $82 million, and he hasn't even set a cleat inside the dugout at Comerica Park.
Is there that much money out there?
There's that much money out there. Did you see what Harbaugh got to go to? Did you see that today?
No.
18 million. 18 million a year. 18 million a year to chase the Lombardi Trophy.
Hey.
How much am I getting paid for this? Anybody?
I think we got a to-go bag for you.
But I love the Tigers, win, lose, or draw. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember going, the first ball game ever at Tiger Stadium. And I'll never forget it. And, here a few years back, my son and I took his son, my grandson Benji, and Landon Kleinsmith, one of my grandsons. We're taking my father to a Tiger game. We did it every year. And we left early, and we went to the corner, Michigan and Trumbull. And the field was still there, man.
Yeah.
And my son, his favorite Tiger was Lou Whitaker, and we got on that field, and he sprinted to second base to stand where Lou stood, So, I've always been a Tiger fan, and I will be forever. And I think if they get lucky and they can find a third baseman, because we don't have one of those yet, because I say this Colt kid can play second. Love me some Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson. They're the real deal, I think.
All right. I don't even know who those guys are.
You start watching baseball, Corey. Well, construction business, you're out till what, 9, 10 o'clock in the summer?
Sun up to sundown, hour before, hour after, and then you got bookkeeping. So
that's what Lisa does, doesn't she?
She does.
All right.
Yeah, but I got to give her the paperwork to do the bookkeeping.
I understand. So we'll see how the Tigers do and watch a couple of games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I got really today, Jim.
Okay.
I appreciate you coming in and getting gritty with us.
My pleasure.
So we can have you back though?
Absolutely. Call me anytime. You're gonna have Carson on? I dare you to have us both on at the same time.
I think that's the only way I'm going to have him on if I get both of you here. And I don't think I even need to be here. I think it's a show on its own.
Oh, probably is. I tried to talk. I told you I really like to go to ShopRite and be a cashier. I'm going to do it. As soon as the right leg straightens itself out a little bit, and I can stand on my feet for 4 hours or so for sure.
I'm going to put you in a plow truck for one job. Is that?
That's fine.
All right.
This year, next year.
This is your bucket list, right?
Oh, yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
Sort of.
It is now.
It is now. I can wheel a pretty good Cub Cadet 2-stage thrower.
Yeah, it's not the same.
I know it's not the same.
It's not the same.
I know it's not the same. But let's do that. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
You'll lose your license, but that'll be fun.
No,
and Dan.
Well, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Corey.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
A lot of fun.